violence in the heart of Barcelona. Police reportedly have named this man as the driver in that deadly rampage in Barcelona.
There is a massive manhunt underway for Moussa Oukabir. He is believed to be the driver of the van that killed 13 people here at Los Ramblas.
We're looking at 3 different parts of Spain, a much bigger operation than we originally thought.
Everybody started to run because they're screaming from behind, and everybody just ran forward. And then I'm sorry, there's a lot of old people. They must have trampled them as they went past.
Our next guest says that van stopped just 10 feet away from him.
I start hearing noises to my left through my music, like thud noises, and then within seconds it turned to screams.
This is exactly what we should be expecting, I think. Multiple hits and individuals who are increasingly sophisticated.
The unfettered immigration policies, which have really just allowed people to come in without any vetting, has resulted in disaster.
We've had our failed immigration policies over many years. Frankly, the whole thing is madness.
These attacks happen and then we put out the fire afterwards. That's not working anymore.
As the driver in the deadly rampage in Barcelona, a manhunt now intensifying for that teen.
Police also killing 5 terrorists after they drove a car into pedestrians in a second attack in Cambrils. Connor Powell is live for us on the ground there in Barcelona with the breaking details. Connor,
good morning. What we are seeing here, according to Spanish authorities, is that it's a growing cell of attackers. Every couple hours, they've added another person. They've added now a 4th person they say they've arrested. They're still looking for the driver, Moussa Oukabir, who they say is an 18-year-old Moroccan who his older brother was one of the 3 that was arrested yesterday. They've now obviously arrested a 4th person. So we're up to 10 people that are involved in these 2 attacks. There was a 3rd incident on Wednesday night where a small explosive device went off. The police think that those were people connected and trying to build explosive devices as part of these attacks. 2 attacks right now that we know of. The first, obviously, here in Barcelona on Los Ramblas, killing 13 people, wounding more than 100 people yesterday when police say Moussa Oukabir drove his white van down the road, swerving from side to side, hitting people along this really famous tourist spot. And then later last night, 5 men tried to do something similar, ram pedestrians in a small seaside village just about 60 miles south of Barcelona. Police say they shot and killed all 5 men there that were trying to launch this attack. Now, as police are still hunting for the one man, the driver, Moussa Oukabir, here just a few minutes ago, about 2 hours or so, there was a big rally here. Spain's king and prime minister were here in the square. There was large chants of "We will not be scared, we are not afraid." There was a moment of silence for the victims, which has gone up from 13 to now 14, and police and authorities here are warning that that number could increase even further because there's at least 15 people who are seriously wounded after yesterday's attack. Guys, back to you.
All right, Connor Powell live in Barcelona with the very latest. It is just a little after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We have some live images. This is one of the locations there in the Las Ramblas district of Barcelona where a number of people were killed yesterday. 5:30. Just to explain what this neighborhood is like, it's a very big tourist attraction, and it's a very wide boulevard, and in the center of the street is the pedestrian walkway where most people on that street are walking, and they have single lanes of traffic on each side, and that's why it was so easy for this guy in the white Fiat van to just get in the middle, zigzag, and obviously what we know now, he was trying to kill as many people as he could.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a comparison here in the U.S. There's that pedestrian area in Denver, and while there may not be roadways on either side of that, there's also 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica. Again, no cars on either side, but again, one of those areas where there's just pedestrians walking in what appears to be a roadway. And then obviously this situation is happening there in Barcelona.
And it's still ongoing. I mean, as we heard there from Connor Powell, you've got this 18-year-old who they believe is the driver behind this white van. You can see him right there. It's being reported that he possibly took the ID from his brother, who has now been arrested and with authorities as we speak. But he might have taken his brother's ID. We know that on social media, he wrote about 2 years ago, "Kill all infidels." It could be that he is the ringleader behind this whole operation. That he is still being searched for. So this is still a very ongoing situation.
Because his older brother walked into a police station and said, I think you're looking for me because my name is on that rental car. I was here. My brother took it.
Right.
Joining us right now from Cleveland is Fox News correspondent at large, Geraldo Rivera. Geraldo, I know every time something like this happens, it brings back those terrible memories of when your daughter was over during the time of the Bataclan and the stadium terror attack.
It does. It gives you the chills, Steve. I mean, on several levels. One is there but for fortune. The terror attack is terrorizing because it's spontaneous and the victims are randomly selected very often, and people have absolutely nothing to do with whatever beef the terrorists have. The other thing is this was a similar sized crew, it seems, of terrorists as that Paris attack in November 2015 that affected my family so profoundly. But it was 1/10 as successful as Paris. In Paris, Simone, my lovely daughter, now safely in New York and working for the district attorney's office. There she was in the stadium, Holland playing France in soccer, and all of a sudden there are explosions outside. Why was she spared? She was spared because randomly the ticket taker at the football stadium, at the soccer stadium, wouldn't let the suicide attackers in. Right. So they ignited their vests outside the stadium so the people inside, including my dear Simone, were safe, but so many others died. What happened here, there was a chance that happened here, that's why the casualties were only 1/10 as bad as Paris. What happened here is, as they were preparing a bomb on Wednesday night in the apartment outside of Barcelona, it exploded. Now the bomb exploded, so now their original plot, which was obviously to take this bomb they were making, put it in a vehicle, and blow something up in a classic vehicle-borne improvised explosive device, was thwarted. So what do? Then the kid grabs gets the brother's rental van, it seems to me, and randomly they go to Las Ramblas, a place in Barcelona, a wonderful promenade. My family and I have been there many times, and commits this atrocity. But it was basically a failed attack, even though 14 tragically were killed. 5 terrorists were killed outside, 70 miles outside to the south, Cambrils. I think the Spanish authorities did a great job, and our thoughts and prayers are with the people, the parents of people who happen to be in Barcelona.
Absolutely. But often after these attacks, Geraldo, there's frustration that there were warning signs, right? I mean, our CIA did warn officials in Spain about 2 months ago that an attack was likely specifically in this Las Ramblas area of Barcelona. What more do we need to do? What more do officials need to do, the government and civilians? I mean, we've had a lot of guests on the show today talking about how PC we still are in this country and around the world, and we've got to change that.
Well, in regard to that last part, Abby, about being PC, one of the ways we beat traditional organized crime, the mafia and so forth, was to infiltrate with informants and with undercover operatives. I have not yet seen that, at least not publicized.
Not that we know of.
We managed to penetrate one of these cells with young agents of our own who can then tip us to what's happening. I think we have to be much more aggressive. I also believe that this war in Syria and Iraq, Mosul has fallen. Raqqa, the capital of the so-called caliphate, still stands, even though it is beleaguered. We must crush them there. We must wipe out the rat's nest. We have to get them in a place where they don't have a safe space to plot these diabolical schemes and these attacks on innocent civilians as they try to disrupt Western civilization. We've got to wipe out their base, penetrate their cells, get enhanced intelligence, and then the simple stuff, like in front of the Fox building where you're sitting right now, there are these concrete barriers that prevent vehicles from coming off the street onto the sidewalk. I call on every single public plaza in the United States of America to have these vehicle restraining devices. They cost 50 cents of concrete, and you can save an awful lot of lives. Look at Times Square, the huge right there. It's 1,000 feet from where you sit right now. The huge promenade there, now banned to traffic largely on the west side of the street. And wherever you see the pedestrians, they've got to walk through these pillars. Why not you can prevent a serious attack with very little expense, with some forethought.
It's a great idea. Geraldo, I want to take it a step back here. Do you think what just happened in Barcelona will change any minds globally with regard to open borders, and specifically here in the U.S. with regard to the travel ban?
Well, I mean, it's certainly going to bring up the issue. I just want a quick history lesson, though. Remember, Spain is separated from Africa, from Morocco, the former Spanish territory, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, by the Straits of Gibraltar, which is like a 20-mile wide group of waters. Unlike the Mediterranean further east, which is, hundreds of miles wide. Right there in Spain, it's only 20 miles from Africa, 20 miles from the base of the festering population of activists, some of them Muslims who were deeply resentful of the Moroccan king and the Spanish government. Spain expelled all Muslims back in 1482, you might remember. So there's a lot of historical conflict. I'm not sure that Spain, to answer your question, Tom, I'm not sure that Spain is suffering because of its liberal immigration, come one, come all, that obviously has afflicted Belgium and Germany and France. But still, there is no doubt a restive population, some percentage of them, they should be penetrated by local patriotic Muslim Spaniards. Get in there, find out what's going on, alert the authorities, bust these acts before they happen, and then, of course, spread what we have now common in this country. If you see something, say something.
Well, we do know that one of those suspects who's been arrested was Spanish, and we do know that another was Moroccan, to your point. But real quickly, before you go, Geraldo, do you think, and they're looking into this particular, the driver, the 18-year-old kid. Apparently, he had been to Madrid, ways away from his home for a while. They want to know who he met with earlier this week. Apparently, he arrived in Barcelona a couple of days ago. Do you think he actually was in contact with ISIS directly, or do you think this is one of those online things?
I think, I don't know, obviously, but remembering what I was like when I was 18, or you all, when you were 18, you worry about sports and girls, and life is very innocent, and you're just beginning. Here's an 18-year-old who is so committed to this perverse ideology that he's willing to die for it. It's tragic. I don't know how you stop it. But it seems to me that the most likely thing is not that the 18-year-old kid was talking to Raqqa, Syria, but that there's an older person or several older people in charge of a terrorist cell that includes many of these impressionable children. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't one of these Wahhabist clerics who tells the kid, go to heaven and virgins and so forth. I think that I have no problem if a mosque is known to be preaching extremist rhetoric. I have zero problem with putting agents inside to tell us what the cleric is doing and what these people are plotting.
Right. No one is born as an Islamic extremist. We got to figure out how people do radicalize. It's a great point. Geraldo, good to have you on this.
Thanks, Geraldo.
Thanks.
All right, a lot more coming up in this final hour. Next, the White House reacts to the terror attacks in Spain as the president gets ready to meet with his national security team. And Aaron Cohen, Michelle Malkin, and Dana Lash, all coming up in the next 45 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. 17 minutes after the hour, and President Trump meeting with his national security team on the heels of yet another deadly terror attack. The commander-in-chief condemning the massacre yesterday and vowing to help find and punish those responsible.
Garrett Tenney is live from D.C. with the latest. Garrett.
Well, good morning, Todd, Abby, and Steve. The White House tells us that President Trump has been receiving regular updates on the attacks from his chief of staff, John Kelly. And across his administration yesterday, there were condemnation of the attacks and expressions of support for the people of Spain. The first public comments came from First Lady Melania Trump, who tweeted, "Thoughts and prayers to Barcelona." Then a few hours later, after more details of the tragedy had come out, President Trump offered his own condolences and support, tweeting, "The United States condemns the terror attack in Barcelona, Spain, and will do whatever is necessary to help. Be tough and strong. We love you." At the end of a trip to Latin America, Vice President Mike Pence echoed the president's sentiments, and at a press conference at the Panama Canal, he issued this warning to other would-be terrorists.
ISIS has taken credit for this barbaric attack. But whoever is responsible should know that the United States of America, together with our allies, will find and punish those responsible and drive the evil of radical Islamic terror from the face of the earth.
The vice president returned home last night from his Latin American trip a day earlier than originally planned for a lunch meeting at Camp David with President Trump today, followed by a meeting with the National Security Council to discuss North Korea, though you can expect that these attacks in Barcelona will certainly come up as well. Back to you.
All right, Garrett, thank you very much. We're getting some further details on the second attack where there were the 5 terrorists in the Audi car. Apparently what happened was they were wearing the fake suicide vests. A police officer was doing a spot check at a roundabout, and this car tried to run over as many people as they could, and then they crashed into the police car. Their car flipped, and then they got out, the terrorists with the fake suicide vests, got out of the car. They had axes and machetes and were coming at this one cop who killed 4 of the 5.
Wow.
The 5th one took off toward a public park and was engaged by a police officer later, and he was killed. Nonetheless, some hero cops in Spain today.
That's an incredible story. One of the civilians died there. 13 others died.